Wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you wanna
Welcome back to Talk to Solomon. Our guest of honor, Major General Jerry Curry, U.S. Army retired. Our co-host, Police Chief Steve Davis, and me. I'm Stan Solomon. General, the United Nations granted the Palestinian organization official observer status, which is not that big a deal in actuality, but from a public relations perspective, it's very substantial. It says, we recognize you as being who you say you are, the official representatives of a group of people. Now, at the United Nations, which is an organization made up primarily of thugs, deviants, morons, and anti-Americans, they are featuring an art exhibit because they're very sensitive. And so in this art exhibit, they have Palestinian art, I use that term in its broadest application, that depicts Palestine as all of both the occupied areas, so-called occupied areas, and all of Israel. So Palestine, in essence, is a country filled with Palestinians, but no Jews allowed. And of course, their way of doing that is the final solution that they adopted from Adolf Hitler. And most people don't know the beginning of the Palestinian movement was by the Grand Mufti. By that's an interesting word. I think it has to do with a part of a female anatomy. But anyway, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who was a virulent anti-Semite, worked with Nazis to stir up the people there who had always got along fine with the Jews that were there. There weren't very many people altogether, only like 300,000 people in all of the area, to start a campaign. And of course, in that time, they started murdering and doing all the things that Muslims are so good at. Anyway, this artwork that the UN is in essence allowing shows an Israel / Palestine free of Jews under the control of the Palestinians. Your thoughts?
The Europeans and the Americans had an opportunity on this particular maneuver to stand up and to be counted. This is not whether you're Arab or Jew and all that sort of stuff. This is a question of what is really right, what is really decent, what is honest, what is righteous in our conduct. And shouldn't we stand for that no matter what the other side may say? Listen, one of the things we're saying now is because the Arabs there were running Palestine, not running it, but they were pretty much in charge of Palestine all those years leading up to '67. And so, as we look back and look at that period of time, we say, hey, the Jews had a war, and they won the war, and they ran these people out, and these people ought to have the right to return. Now, let's just stop and say, what does that mean? What that really means is that the Soviet Union should be forced to give up all of the property that they took over as the end of World War II. That's the right of return. Poland, for example, right of return. All of those countries in Europe that have had to give up their border lines, have given up their little areas, they gave it up because they won it in a war. So why don't we go back and say, okay, everybody in Europe, everybody in the Middle East, if you won your property in Europe in a war, it no longer applies, and we are going to see to it right now that it is returned to the people who rightfully own it. Therefore, let's put the Poles back into Russia, for example. Nobody's going to go down that road. It's stupid. And we shouldn't be allowing them to get away with such a stupid application.
Chief?
Well, it's beyond time, it's past time for the United States to get out of the United Nations. And beyond time for us to kick the United Nations off of our soil and send them somewhere else. They should set up camp in Iran. I think that'd be the best place for them. But what this shows is the United Nations, which by charter is supposed to be preventing war and promoting peace, is now promoting genocide with this display saying that the entire state of Israel should be wiped off the face of the earth. So for the United States to participate in this in any kind of way, again, shows that we're not a superpower. If we're just going to be a voting member, we should be controlling this and not being a part of it.
Let me mention something that you alluded to, General, and something I have some knowledge of. In 1948, when the United Nations voted that the historic homeland of the Jews would in fact be recognized as the homeland of the Jews, and it was a tiny, tiny little piece of real estate. At the same time, they gave huge areas to the quote-unquote Palestinians. It's an area called Jordan. At the time, it was called Transjordan. And they created all these other countries that did not exist over there. So Saudi Arabia, by the way, is not a historic country. That country was given to the royal Saudi family after World War II. It was all created. Now, the Jews that were in Israel offered, begged their neighbors who they've been living with for years and decades, and in some cases centuries, to stay. It wasn't the Jews that told non-Jews to get out. It was the Muslims that murdered many and told all who wanted to stay, if they stayed, they'd be murdered too. Now, having said that, the state of Israel is in round numbers 6 million people, slightly less, call it 6 million. Of those 6 million, about 1.5 million of them are Arabs, Muslims. Do you know who has the highest standard of living in all of the Middle East other than the royal families? The the Muslims that live in Israel. They're full citizens. Do you know who has the most freedom? Those Muslims that live in Israel. You know who has the most protection of law? Those Muslims that live in Israel. The right of return. Understand that prior to 1948, ready? There were only 300,000 human beings in the area we now call Israel. Total. Today there are almost 6 million. So this right of return that they're asking for isn't for the 300,000. It isn't even for the 1.5 million that are there. They're asking for the right for 15 or 20 million Muslims, Arabs, to move into Israel to make it a majority Arab/Muslim country, with the idea that once they have that, they would vote themselves into power and either eliminate Jews being there, kill them, or make them second-class citizens until they could kill them. Am I close, General?
You're very close, and they would also like to have another Arab Spring right there on the West Bank in Gaza, for example. There's no question where these people are going. They've been very open. They've been very honest. They've been very straightforward. Their intention is just like Adolf, is to kill all the Jews. That's what they intend to do. That's what they want to do. And that's the thing they're holding out for. They're not going to be satisfied with kicking the Jews out of 1 square mile here or one village over there or some little housing area. They're not going to be satisfied with that. They will not be satisfied, just like Hitler was not satisfied, until you get the Auschwitz ovens fired up and working at full blast.
Steve?
Yes, the Islamic peoples of all of those countries, they are not going to be satisfied until they have true, pure Islamic religion and politics in all of those countries. But they each have their own different version of that, really. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them if they kill Jews, each other, everybody, as long as they're still working towards the complete Islamic control of the world.
Let's switch, but not switch. I want to go to Libya, where it's just come out that the so-called security detail with Ambassador Stevens, the ambassador who was murdered, didn't even have guns. That when trouble broke out, they left him, went to get weapons, and only one of them came back. The rest of them stayed where they were more safe themselves. So there was only one security officer with Ambassador Stevens when he was in fact captured. That security officer was killed, and so was Stevens. I say that because many people don't understand. Let me go back to Clinton. May he rest in pieces. When we were doing that war against the Serbs, did you know that our troops over there were not allowed to have live rounds? And that for fun, they would, the so-called allies that we had would take our female soldiers, who were all dressed up ready for battle except they had no bullets, and they would rape them, gang rape them, and they were not allowed to report it. It was great sport, and no one to this day wants to talk about it. Did you know that, General?
I did not know that, by the way. But let me, I'm a military guy, and I spent my life in the military. Grew up, went in as a private, worked my way up through the ranks, left as a general. I have spent a lot of time eyeball to eyeball with the enemy. And the answer is you don't play around with these people. Under no condition should you have your soldiers without ammunition, without weapons, without the means to defend themselves. Under no condition should that happen. And if you're the colonel or the general who is in charge, you take charge right then and there and you make the right things happen. And that is, we're going to get you the ammunition, we're going to get you the weapons, and if we can't get it, you're not going to have to go out there and face the enemy.
We heard about a terrible incident in Lebanon where we lost 240 Marines. Reagan was president. Did you know the guards there didn't have live rounds? That's how that truck got through. They didn't have the means to stop it.
No, I didn't know that once more, but it's still where we are, which is there is no excuse under any condition to put our soldiers out facing death without the ability to protect their lives and to win the battle. There's no excuse and no reason not to. And my answer is let's take some of those guys out of the White House and take them over there and take their weapons away and let them go out and fight. I
love it. I absolutely love it. And they're saying there were no shots actually fired in defense of our people. They were overwhelmed because, and I think, Steve, you talked about this last time, that we've had 3 or 4 of our top generals removed for one reason or another. And Obama's replacing them with patsies. I have other words. That now our top generals are being taken out, the ones that know their stuff, and in their place they're putting, Obama, obeyers.
Well, Obama got this from the FDR playbook because FDR tried to put the generals in jail. He tried to charge them with crimes, put them in jail, and that backfired on him. Then they realized all they got to do is just remove them. You find some reason to take them out, and you replace them with the patsies that you want. I want to go back to the Reagan incident, though. The Marine barracks bombing took place, and you're right, the guards didn't have the guards did not have rounds for their, but that was from the past practice. When Reagan found out about that, he changed that and then started arming all of the soldiers.
I agree, but that's what happened at that particular incident.
But it shows, what this shows to me is, it's the philosophy. It's the philosophy of the left. They hate guns so much. They hate people to have guns so much. They'd rather have people murdered and killed. They'd rather go through that than give in to the fact that we need guns to protect ourselves and our soldiers to protect ourselves from the enemy. But the left, they don't see that. They just see this philosophy that they have. They're just stuck right there to it. They're going to stick right with it. Guns are bad, especially for people to own guns, and they're going to keep them away even if innocent people get killed because of that.
General?
Steve, you're right on. You get me emotional on this thing. I tell you, this has been my life. And I got to tell you, I don't have time for this. The answer is get yourself out of my way or you're going to get killed. Whoever you are that's giving me these kinds of orders, I am not going to follow that order, period. There's no discussion about that. We are going to protect and take care of our soldiers on the battlefield, engaged with the enemy. And anybody who thinks otherwise, you don't want to get in my way because you won't be alive very long.
Hear, hear. We had a lady whose name is Nadia Siddiqui. Never met the lady. She was the acting head of the Women's Affairs Department in the Afghan province of Langham, Laghman, Langham. She was assassinated. Her predecessor was assassinated. The Afghan government that we've been supporting, that we've been negotiating with, that Karzai, with his scarf and his hat and his whatever, they refuse to give this woman any protection detail, as they did her predecessor, because they won't provide protection for any females. And of course, the Taliban and others on the left are assassinating these women. We saw cases where children, girls, little girls, are being attacked, murdered, and of course, Muslims. And by the way, let me say this clearly. If you're a Muslim, you have every right to be. If you're a nice person, I certainly appreciate and respect that. But if you're one of these Muslims that believes that women should be subjugated, if you're one of these Muslims that believe that in honor killings, if you're one of these Muslims that believe that to get your 13th Imam out of the well, that anything is okay, I wish you a painful death in the next 30, 40 seconds. And if I were there, I'd make sure it happened. Now, having said all that, I am tired of us expending time, treasure, and blood to protect Karzai and people like him. As far as I'm concerned, you can eliminate the whole country, turn it into a wildlife preserve, send Hillary over there, and be done with it. General, am I being too severe?
No, I don't think you are. I think this is. Listen, the American people who have their sons and have their daughters who have volunteered to go into war to defend whatever it is that we're defending over there, those people deserve. I'm talking about the parents, the mothers, the fathers. They deserve that their loved ones are safeguarded and taken care of. They deserve that. And I got to tell you, I don't think that all the Karzais in the world are worth one single American life. They aren't worth it. And I would not be over there with killing my soldiers, killing the women, killing the men over there, involved in all of that terrible kind of fighting that we're involved in over there. And what do you get out of it at the end? These people are never going to be Democrats. They're never going to have a quiet, peaceful, restful, decent way of life. They're going to be thugs all their lives.
Well, Stan, we are not the land of the free because we said so. We are the land of the free because brave men and women like the general have put their lives on the line and made it so. But this story dramatizes the hypocrisy of the left, who claim that the Republicans have a war on women because they won't give Harvard students birth control and because we won't talk mothers into killing their own children freely and readily. But the real war on women, if they want to talk about that, is this Islamic war on women in the Middle East, where you said where they're shooting girls for going to school, they're mutilating women, they're mutilating their genitals. Women are second-class citizens. They're not allowed to do anything. They must walk behind the men. They must have 6 or 7 men testify if they got raped or there no rape occurred. That's the war on women. So for anyone, for the left in this country to blame the Republicans when they're not speaking out against this, it's really it's immoral. And for anybody out there who supported Democrats, you're supporting this. You're supporting the previous story. You're supporting unarming our military. You're supporting letting our people get killed in foreign countries. And you're supporting the war on women by the Islamics in the Middle East.
I have no empathy. If I were in charge, and God's smart enough not to put me in charge, but if I were in charge, the war in Afghanistan would have lasted exactly 30 minutes. I would have nuked the most Taliban-rich areas and let everyone else know, turn in everyone and surrender unconditionally, or I take the next most Taliban area until there's either surrender or nobody's left. End of story. And by the way, I would give them a reasonable amount of time, 30 minutes, to comply. All right, let's go to the next story, and that is we have, you mentioned this I think before, General, Jamie Foxx saying he enjoyed or it was fun or something to that effect, killing all the white people in this new movie starring him as an ex-slave whose wife was taken, and of course to make all the whites look terrible and all the blacks look heroic. Blacks can be heroic or terrible, whites can be heroic or terrible. But in this movie, he uses Ready? Guns to kill the bad guys. And he says it's fun. I personally say this to Jamie Foxx. You have a right to say anything you want. I have a right to say anything I want. I hope someone shoots you in the head, and then you can tell them if it's fun or not. General. I can't hear the general.
I said, I'm not going down that road. You got to walk that one alone.
You know what? I've walked many a road alone, and I told you my secret plan is I'm going to keep expressing my opinion. I'm going to stop in 2 years, pull all the arrows out of my butt, and open an archery store. But the fact is, I'm frustrated when people think they can say whatever they want, and that's fine, but I can't say anything because it makes me whatever name they want to call me. Jamie Foxx, I'll beat you one-on-one. I'm twice your age, and I'll kick your butt. I promise you.
He's got a stunt man and a stand-in.
Yeah, but there's no stand-in. If you and I meet, it'll be you, you pussy. I'm sorry, I don't mean to berate cats. Go ahead, General.
Yeah. I don't understand why anybody in America, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, I don't understand why anybody puts up with that kind of talk for 15 seconds. That, to me, it's mind-boggling. This man is like his leader, his president. This man is bad for America, and he certainly isn't doing anything that would make us a better country. He's making it a worse country. And so my thoughts are with him, as far as I'm concerned, is everybody in America should be screaming and hollering and shutting this guy up. And I'd be the first to do it.
I'll never go to another one of his movies, and I can't control other people. I can only vote with my own dollars, and I express my opinion. Anyone that goes to a movie or a presentation involving this guy is a low-life, anti-American person, in my humble opinion.
I agree with you.
Me too. Well, this shows a philosophy, again, of the left. Their philosophy is the ends justify the means. It's okay for Jamie Foxx to use guns and all that, and he can kill white people and talk about that, but don't reverse that situation. But it also shows that the left were smart, that they took over the education system, the news media, and entertainment. That's what all of our young people are being educated on. This right now, this story is what our young people are getting educated on. But also, the big point for me is Barack Obama campaigned to be the uniter of all the people, and he's been the big divider. He's caused more division between people and on the race issue in particular than anybody else I can remember in my lifetime.
Yep. One last story here I think we have time for, and that is the CEO of General Electric. And why he's the CEO, I don't know. He's destroyed that company, destroyed their value, but he now made a comment, I think it was on CBS, with Charlie Rose, saying communism works. General?
I heard him, by the way. Yes, he is saying essentially that, you know, socialism, communism, that this is good for the world, it's good for America, it's something we should have more of, not less of. This fellow is, like you say, I don't know how he got to be CEO, but he is the CEO. But I must tell you, if I were the board of directors, he would be off of that board and he would be out of that company.
Well, you know why he's still there? Because General Electric owns NBC. NBC is the most virulent leftist, pro-Obama network, and so their board is made up of these kind of people.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I'm a stickler for words and what they mean, and so you say communism works, that's true. It works if your goal is to have the few elites controlling the rest of everybody else. And so you got the elite and peasants. You got the elite and slave labor. You got the elite and no freedom at all. If that's your version of works, it certainly works.
Well, he says, by the way, he said he likes the way the communism works. He says because the guy in charge can make decisions, and things will happen, and they will do exactly what he tells them to do. In short, he loves having a dictator. And I'd like him to leave our country and go over to one of those countries and stay there and live there and let him be happy with them.
Well, you know, in communist China, and the Chinese people are nice people. I know many Chinese people, and that's, you know, when you know 200 people and there are 1.5 billion people, you don't really know enough. But the fact is, in China, their quote-unquote leader or leaders made decisions, and millions of acres were covered with water to create an artificial whatever lake, and people were destroyed, and lives were destroyed, and the environment was destroyed. And where's all the left when they're so concerned about, the sex life of a tsetse fly?
Well, that matches their philosophy, though. The left really sees this as what they really want, this utopia, where the government is in control, the government dictates everything and tells everyone what to do, and then life is good. That's what they believe. They believe in the exact opposite of freedom. That's what they want, and that's what they think works.
General, I have a couple minutes left. I'd like to give it to you so you can wind this up.
Well, the United States is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Historically, it's the greatest empire, if you compare it to the Roman Empire, for example, that we have ever had. In spite of the efforts of so many people to destroy this country, somehow we have managed to survive. We, the people, have managed to pull it out, and we still are the greatest country in the world. I'll make a prediction for you. And my prediction is that unless Obama gets a third term, no matter who replaces him, they will never do the terrible, horrible, awful things to this country that he has done to it. And this country is once more going to raise its head and continue to become the leading country on the face of the earth.
Well, great sentiments, and with that, we will call it a wonderful cherry on this Sunday of a discussion. General, thank you for your service to our nation, and may God bless you and it.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Good night. Good night, my friends. We'll be back shortly with former Ambassador Alan Keyes right here on Talk to Solomon. I like to eat. You like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. They say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com, check it out. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item, and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put it on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. the fuel mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The fuel mule. I like to eat. You like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com, check it out.